Coexist. 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 I'm going to tell the story of my friend Josh. I feel like I could dedicate an entire podcast with just stories that him and I went through, because we had this crazy, wild friendship. He's dead now, but when he was alive, it was wild. So that's why I'm hesitant to tell stories, because I feel like it would just be like, that'd be the whole podcast. It would just be me telling stories about him and I's friendship. Him and I's friendship. I's and him's friendships. But before the ball got rolling and it got crazy, there was like a couple things that happened before that. So I'm going to tell one of those stories. Like Josh, first I got to describe Josh. Josh was like Brad Pitt from Fight Club, except a little bit taller and like more charming and charismatic, it's crazy to say, but it's true. He was a wild man. Like he was able to get away with things that like I don't know how to explain it. Like one time I introduced him to my friend Steve, and Josh pissed. Steve had this brand new Lancer that he loved. He took care of it like a baby, and Josh sat in the back seat and he pissed his pants, and it got all over the seat. Obviously, sounds disgusting. It is disgusting. I understand. And Steve's like, "You motherfucker! You pissed in my car!" And Josh was like, "No, I didn't." And he had this weird way about him where he could get away with things. It was really crazy. But so Steve is pissed. We take Josh back to his car. Steve's like, "Get out of my car!" So Josh gets out. And he jumps on the hood of Steve's car as Steve's trying to drive away. And he's like, oh, come on. So then finally we shake him off, and Josh guts off. He jumps into his car and he disappears into the night. And I remember it was a foggy night, but he just disappears. And I remember I said to Steve, I was like, I'm sorry. Like, this guy, you just met him and he pissed in your backseat. That's crazy. I don't know why he did that. That's fucking wild. But, here we are. And I apologize. I'll talk to him tomorrow. So Steve's like, motherfucker, I can't believe he did that. So we keep driving. We're driving, it's foggy, and all of a sudden there was like a car off into the woods. Like it was foggy, and we just saw like lights shining through fog, like in the woods. It looked like a car had driven off, like, and got into an accident and went into the woods, and like the door was open. We slowed down, we rolled down the windows, and we heard like ding, 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 and I was like, that's Josh's car. What the fuck? So we're like crawling very slowly on the road, and all of a sudden we see Josh laying in the middle of the road, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, is he all right? Before I could even get out, Josh starts like twitching in the middle of the road, and he twitches himself like into an upright position, and he starts like dancing, and he starts walking towards the car like a zombie, and he's like, cause this is thrill of a night. And then, whatever. Steve's like, I forgive you. Eventually, it didn't happen just like that, but but yeah, so he had this weird way of like he jumped in his car and he drove ahead of us, and he set up this whole like fake accident just so he could make it look like he was dancing to Thriller, it doesn't sound that funny, but like when it happened, it was hilarious. So fuck you, eat my dick. But so yeah, that's the kind of person he was. And there was like we would do these like ridiculous things. One time Josh's friend Chris came over, and he's like, I want you to set off fireworks on my stomach. So he took off his shirt and he laid down flat on the grass. And he's like, take these firecrackers and light them off on my stomach. But he's like, you got to play something hard. You got to play something hard like System of a Down. So Josh looks at me and nods like, you know what to do. And I was like, I know what to do. So I got a song queued up. And then Chris is like, all right, I'm ready. So Josh is like, are you ready? And he's like, I'm ready. So Josh looks at me and nods, and then he flicks the lighter and lights the firecrackers. And they start going off on Chris's stomach, and Chris is like, ah! So I hit play, and the song, sunshine, lollipops, and dun, 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 and Chris is like, ah! And blood and guts and fire is going everywhere, and he's screaming. He's like, you motherfucker, I told you to play something hard. And it's like, sunshine, lollipops, and... But yeah, I don't know why I just told that story. I just remembered it real quick. But to tell the story of Josh would be, I literally would need a whole podcast. I need like hours and hours of like, he was so crazy that like we'd go searching for him in the woods with flashlights. We'd be like, Josh, are you out here, Josh? And he'd like fall down from a tree, like with his AR-15, completely naked, covered in fish guts, and be like, we got to be quiet. The enemy's out there. Like he was a maniac. He was fucking crazy, but in a good way and in a bad way. So anyways, before our friendship like really started to take off and get crazy, there was my ex-girlfriend. Well, she was my girlfriend. She broke up with me for this other guy, and so I got drunk, and Josh came along with me, and Josh's friend Chris came along with me, and I was driving drunk. Please don't drive drunk, but I was doing it. This is years ago. I was driving drunk, and we were hitting mailboxes like ridiculous, just like out of a movie. Things that you don't think really happen. It happened. We were hitting mailboxes with baseball bats, drunk like idiots. And then Josh is like, hey, why don't we go to, and he mentioned my ex-girlfriend's name. He's like, why don't we go to her house? And I was like, all right. So we go to her house. I drive there. And I was like, oh, shit. her new boyfriend's here. So Josh and Chris, they run ahead of me. They go inside the house. And before I could get in the house, my ex-girlfriend meets me on the porch, and she's like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "Is he inside?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Motherfucker." So I kicked down the door. I literally kicked down the front door. I had so much rage and anger that I kicked it, and I burst through it like the Incredible Hulk. And I saw the new boyfriend guy, and I was like, "Motherfucker!" And I jumped over this table. I lunged to go, like, I don't know what I was going to do. I don't know what I was going to do. And Chris and Josh, like, held me back. They dragged me outside. And they're like, we gotta go. So they throw me in the car, in the driver's seat for some reason. And then they get in their seats. And they're like, let's go. So I back up as my ex-girlfriend and everybody from the house is running outside towards us. I back up, and I'm like, then I turn and I look forward, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's her new boyfriend's car right in front of me. And I was like, not today. And I put it in drive, and I slammed on the gas, and I smashed into his car. And then I backed up, and then I smashed into it again. And then I backed up, and then I smashed into it again. And the song Panama by Van Halen was playing on the radio. It was like, Panama, oh. And everybody in the car is going, yeah! It was like a fucking movie. And everybody else on the lawn, they're like screaming. They're like, what are you doing? What's going on? I was like, ha, 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 ha. Panama! And I just kept smashing into it. And I zipped out of there. I had a little Toyota Tercel at the time. Zipped out of there, and we went to this 24-hour diner and acted like that didn't just happen, which is insane. And we ordered all this food, and we ate it, and then we walked out on the bill like assholes. And instead of leaving the parking lot, like you think, hey, we just did all this crazy shit, committed all these crimes. Instead of leaving, we sat in the parking lot of the diner that we just walked out of, and we just kept drinking beer. And I'm not proud of this, by the way. I'm not trying to like make it sound like this is the coolest story ever, but it's something that happened. So yeah. So I guess the diner people, they called the cops. We saw these cop cars pull up, and the cops got out and they went inside. And then the waitresses came out with the cops and they pointed to my car. And I was like, oh shit! And I threw all the beer out the window. And we somehow got away. I don't know how the fuck we got away, but I ended up paying for the door. I felt really bad. But yeah, so don't drink and drive, and that's what the lesson of this. But me and that girl ended up getting back together. But before we did, I worked for a construction company, and I had to take a shit, and I hated shitting in porta potty, so I still had a key to her house somehow. So I went to her house, nobody was home, and I went into the bathroom, and I took a shit in the bathroom, and it didn't flush. I was like, oh no! So I just left, and then when we got back together years later, they're like, did you come to our house and shit in the bathroom one day because we found it in the toilet? And I was like, no, but it was me. But anyways, yeah, so maybe one day I'll tell more stories of Josh, but I feel like I need a whole podcast just dedicated to just that, because he was a wild man. It was fucking like sometimes I forget that actually happened. I feel like it was a movie that I watched, but that's it.